Call the OCTAX meeting to order. This is April meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the January 25th meeting. Doug? Matt? Any discussion, additions, deletions, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Michael? You want to give us the sad news?
Actually, it's pretty good news today. Good morning, everyone. Occupancy tax is up 9.2% over this time period last year. We've collected so far $275,796, as opposed to the same time period last year. It was $250,000. So we're up.
Are you collecting any OCTAX from the new bed and breakfast?
No.
So that's without
Yes.
bed and breakfast.
Correct.
When are you expecting to get any?
The last I knew, we had talked to the county attorney about that, and they were working on the agreement with Airbnb. I'm not sure exactly what the status of that is. But as soon as that's taken care of, then we will be collecting from all of them.
Okay.
Other questions? Gene?
Just, excuse me.
Yeah,
okay.
no. Go ahead, Jim.
How can we be up so much in OCTAX and so down?
I have no idea, Gene.
Usually they get, they're going to get one up. They got to.
Normally, they follow suit with each other in a very similar cycle.
Thank you.
I can't answer as to why.
Yeah, we had a great January, February, March with the snow and.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's why it's up, because we had a good cold winter, and that brought a lot of people in.
Yeah.
Lake George Winter Festival was quite a hit. There was a lot of people. There was a lot of snowmobilers around. There was a lot of, so I'm assuming that contributes to a lot of it.
Anybody else?
The things we sent out.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Everything is down.
We're going to move to the action agenda. I am going to move the mayor up to first and get rid of him. So if you're ready, Mayor.
I wasn't ready.
But do what you're famous for, an ad lib.
I'm actually just here today to plant a little seed. I'm aware of the fact that there's an initiative within the county to utilize some occupancy tax funds or some other funds worthwhile to support some of the county communities in infrastructure. And I'm sure you're all aware that we have a problem presently in the village and the town of Lake George, so I just thought today I'd brief you on it now. I understand that there's timing involved in getting any type of legislation through, and I'm mindful of that, but I would hope that you would, by what the information we give you today, that you would, if you do enact such legislation, you make Lake George one of your top priorities. We opened the bids, actually, last Wednesday for our new wastewater treatment plant that we're under a consent order from DEC to have operational by 2021. We've met every deadline so far on the consent order, including having to go to bid to get the plant underway and constructed by this coming fall. The bids came in $2 million more than what the $22 million that we anticipated. We did not get any bids on plumbing at all, so which is estimated to cost somewhere between $350,000 and $400,000. So our engineers are going to go back to the plumbing contractors that picked up bids and find out why they didn't bid, and we're going to rebid the plumbing contract within 3 weeks. But the bad news, we were already in the hole for $15 million, and now we're in the hole for 17. So the village obviously is looking anywhere we can for funding. The Village of Lake George, I have some figures there. The Village of Lake George has 995 people. It equates to something like 26,000 people for every one of our residents, and that includes babies. The The estimated cost of the plant a couple of years ago was, or 6 years ago, was 16 million. Now, then it was 18, then it was 20, then it was 22, and now it's 24 million. And we need to award the bids in 90 days. We're going to have a meeting with DEC and explain the financial problems that would occur in the village and the town of Caldwell Sewer District if we go to bid, but I don't know exactly what the outcome of those bids might be. I think that the wastewater treatment plant in the village is certainly a regional facility. I think that the county, rightly so, has funded the Civic Center in Eastfield and the city of Glens Falls in the past, two facilities that I support wholeheartedly that are a great asset to Warren County. But also, I think our treatment plant that services the entire southern end of Lake George, including the town of Caldwell Sewer District, including Hearthstone Park campsite, Battleground campsite, and the $1 Million Beach, certainly all we've ever asked for was the state to be a partner with us on this program. When Hearthstone needed sewage, the village agreed to run a line up the Bolton Road and take it from Hearthstone. When the state beach had problems a couple of years ago, our village employees volunteered over 360 hours to try and discover where the pollutants were coming from, even though it's not in the village of Lake George. The village of Lake George has been a good steward of the lake all these years. Contrary to a memo that was sent to the press recently, the village of Lake George has spent $4.4 million in the last 15 years improving our sewage treatment plant. The reason we did that was because our sewage treatment plant, as far as we knew, was operating efficiently and was one of the best operating treatment plants under license from DEC all these years. I didn't want to drag a family's name through the mud because they still live in Glens Falls, but our operator was reporting inaccurate figures, similar to what happened in Bolton Landing here a few months ago. So it wasn't until 2012 that we discovered that our treatment plant wasn't everything that it was meant to be. And all the improvements that we were making probably wasn't a Band-Aid at all or improving the plant. In fact, we were going to be faced with a new plant. From the time that we decided that we needed a new plant, the village of Lake George was placed under a moratorium. We enacted a building moratorium September 21st, 2015, shortly after Chris Novinsky asked us to do so, and we've been under a building moratorium ever since. And the village over that time spent $2.1 million slip lining every line, every pipe in the village of Lake George that's anywhere near the water. So we've been good stewards of the lake, and I'm here today to ask you to consider that if in fact you do decide to fund any infrastructure in the surrounding communities. I hope you would consider us to be one of your first priorities. Taxes in the village of Lake George, based on this year's figures, if we add the debt service of $624,000, will increase by 40%. The Caldwell Sewer District figures that the Supervisor Dickinson has, because they pump sewage to our plant, his customers' increase will be 66% if we have to bond $17 million. So we're hopeful that the governor in his budget will see clear to give us some funding out of either the AIM funding or the $500 million that he has from the federal government over the next 90 days. But if he doesn't, we don't really know what we're going to do. Probably the mayor won't sign the contracts. Why would you commit that kind of money to a community when you don't have it? And the mayor will go to jail. And they'll take a picture of me down there in front of that place, and that's probably the best thing that ever happened. It'll be great publicity for Lake George, and maybe then we'll get some money. But any of you that have any connections in Albany, I'm pleading with you to make the call now, because we need to find at least $6 or $7 million more to be able to fund a treatment plant like this. When this process began and we were put under a consent order by DEC, they told us not to worry. they'd find the money. No one's found enough money now. We have $6.7 million committed in grant funding out of $24 million, which leaves us with an no interest loan of $15 million and the possibility of another $2 million at 4%. That equates to $600 and some odd thousand a year in debt service. So I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Bob, give us some idea what kind of money you're looking for.
Well, it's hard to say. I think to bring it down into making it somewhat affordable, because the debt service went from $427,000 up to $624,000, I think it is, when the bids came in. We'd need about $200,000 a year, and that would be split between the town of Caldwell Sewer District and the village of Lake George, because as I say, our taxpayers are both paying it together.
Is that 50-50, or are you going to do a flow split?
We do it 50-50.
Um,
I think anything at all, would be helpful. And as I say, I know that there's time constraints with you folks, and but it's just I guess it's a perfect example of why perhaps maybe we all should be thinking regionally, and particularly with the occupancy tax funds. And I'm not particularly in favor of having a real big reserve in any tax, because shouldn't be making profit on the taxpayer. And I think those funds could be put to a lot better use, and one of the better uses would be to upgrade and certainly do everything we can to protect the lake, because the lake is what drives the engine. On any given day in Lake George Village, we'll host 75,000, 85,000 people in our 2 sets of restrooms. Money that generates sales tax, occupancy tax, comes back to the state government, federal government, our local governments, and of course the county. And that's why I think we're pretty unique, because if we didn't have those folks, if we weren't, we could build a treatment plant similar to what Corinth just built, $7 million treatment plant, $4.5 million in grant funding. We're having to build a $24 million treatment plant because we host all these folks during the summer season, and we host them on behalf of the county and the state, and we've been good stewards. And I'm not here today to apologize. I'm here to brag about everything we've done in Lake George all these years to protect the plant, upgrade our collection system, and spend money on a plant that we thought was operating very, very well.
There's no criticism here. We're perfectly well aware of your dedication to the environment and to Lake George, Mayor. Are you looking for money this year?
I'm looking for it in the next 90 days, but I'm realistic. I'm realistic in knowing that that's not possible here. But again, I would be remiss if I didn't come down here and at least present to you folks some of the facts that we're faced with, rather than you having to read it in the news media, so that you could be thinking about it as you go along your journey of how you're going to spend occupancy tax in the future.
If we enter into a multi-year agreement with you in the interim and you end up getting a grant, is that going to eradicate this?
It certainly could. I mean, the contract could be any way you'd like it. Year to year wouldn't make any difference. We can take the money from the state. We'll be under construction for a little over 2 years. So when I testified before the joint committees down at the state, we made it clear, and we made it clear to the governor, that we don't need to have it all this year. We can take it over this year, and we can take it over next year. But we pretty well dried up all the conventional programs, so the governor's budget is really one of our last resorts. You'll see that because we adhered to the consent order, that's made us ineligible for several of the grant programs. For instance, we had to sign our long-term financing by a certain date, and then we found out that made us ineligible for several grants. So we kept the timing there. We're on track, but we just don't know where the money's going to come from.
Committee, anybody in the committee got any questions? Who is that?
Mr. McGowan, over
Mr. Brad?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question. I read in the paper, and I'm not sure if this is the place to bring it up, but metering. Is there metering being taking place, now, as Queensbury, I know meters their sewer, and Glens Falls does. I mean, is this something that Lake George and the village have always built into their taxes, or is this another avenue that you could look into?
Well, you're right. Some communities meter sewage. We meter water. We're completely metered. The village is completely metered water. All the customers in the Caldwell Sewer District are metered water. So we know how much, water they're using, and that's a good way to conserve it and to find out. Our plant and their plant, or their pipes are metered. So we know, for instance, if there's a big infiltration period, or we know when it increases, or we've got a break in the line or whatever, we can tell by the meters that we have, the central meters, but not the individual houses in the village are not metered. We are not permitted to form a sewer district. Villages can't form districts, so everyone in the village pays equally for everything that happens in the village. And so we put the sewer plant budget right in our general fund. So it's part of the tax. You don't get a separate sewer tax. You do get a separate water tax in the village. However, in the town, they have a separate district. So they get a separate bill. We do not. Yep.
Mike?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Mayor, thanks. This is a sticky problem. I believe that there's an issue with our local laws about where we can spend occupancy tax, and hopefully we can resolve some of this in a quick fashion. But I have a question about your meeting with Senator Schumer, Senator Little. It's related to where I might be able to concentrate my effort and focus, and maybe some of the other supervisors. In terms of where do you think there is money? You said the governor's budget, but where should we try to concentrate our efforts? And where do you think that our voice might have the biggest impact?
Well, we think we've only got two opportunities left. One is the governor's budget, the present budget, and next year's. He's got $500 million in clean water funding that he got from the federal government. And that's on top of his $2.5 million allocation that he made over the next 5 years last year. Schumer said they're going to increase that amount substantially next year to the state as well. And then there's the CFA rounds that are coming up this spring, but they have an economic development element attached to them. We're under this moratorium. We really can't prove that someone's going to come in and build a big resort and generate 50 rooms, 100 rooms, or 100 jobs, because we can't have any building. And so we're in kind of a catch-22. Our assessed valuation is not going to increase the next couple of years because of the building moratorium. But so the only, I don't believe we've got that good of a chance this spring, and they call the governor's Hunger Games, where he designates a district. We were in that last year, and we were not eligible because we didn't have a solid economic component. But the governor's aid to municipalities, his AIM program, and the $500 million that he has in infrastructure improvements certainly is clearly, we're clearly eligible for that. And I would think that he'd be able to find $6 or $7 million, and that's what we've concentrated on. Just as early as yesterday, we sent all the figures to the governor's budget office based on the fact that we opened up the bids and we were now $2 million. We had some new figures. We did that just yesterday, and we also sent it to Jim Tierney, who's the deputy commissioner at DEC, so he would have those figures as well.
Just as a follow-up, Mr. Chairman, really quick. It's $6 to $7 million, but you said over 2 years. How much do you need this year versus next year? Is there a reasonable split that you might think of that might help make this
Well,
argument?
we'd like to get 6 million both years. I've always said we just wanted a partnership. A partnership with the state now would be about $14 million, and we've got 6.7. We've never asked for, 90%, 80%, 70%. I've always used the word to the state partner with us because we're your partner in protecting the lake.
Claudia, do you have something you want to add?
Thanks, yeah. I've been looking at the occupancy tax law or local legislation, and it is pretty clear in my mind that that money is supposed to be for marketing and promotion of our county and our activities, events. And I'm not aware, I did not know, I'm a supervisor, and I was not aware of any effort to change that law to make it so that we could just put it out there to be used for infrastructure projects. I'm not going to be in support of something that just broadly allows that occupancy tax money to go for infrastructure projects. It is something I think we need to look at to make sure that we are giving the occupancy tax money to events that promote the county and that kind of thing, and that all of the towns are also using the money for that type of event. If we're going to change the law, that's a big discussion that we need to have. I would like to help the mayor. I would certainly be happy to be involved down to Albany through my avenue.
Thank you.
There has been a lot of precedent set on the spending of occupancy tax. I have all the resolutions. It must be 3 inches thick. If you don't have that book and all those resolutions, Claudia, you're not going to be able to answer that question. Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly support the village in their endeavors. I think it's well known how much sales tax, occupancy tax money the village brings to the county, and it is the jewel of the county. We have supported, the city of Glen Falls and the town of Queensbury through taking sales tax dollars in 2004 to for them to develop the $1 Million Mile. I believe that's, and then pump the sewer down to the city of Glen Falls. So the county has helped out in these endeavors, and that may be a better avenue to go forward. I mean, rather than, and I agree a little bit with Claudia on, well, I hate to do this, but I do agree with Claudia a little bit on this infrastructure. You start changing the rules on occupancy tax, we get way off base, and everybody will take poetic justice to do what they feel with that. But that being said, we did help the town of Queensbury. We did help, and we sent it down to the city of Glens Falls. Everybody knows what happened in 2004. The amount of money was a couple $100,000. Now it's up to $500,000 a year because it's $600,000 a year is a percentage of sales tax. So it's grown, and I don't know how much of the flow has grown. I'm certain the flow hasn't grown as much as the amount of money that we support Queensbury and the city on. So if I was going to support anything for the village, I think we should look at it that way. I know, it creates a little consternation, but let's look at the amount of money that's come into the village and the town of Lake George over the years. I mean, it is the jewel. Without them, if anything happens to the lake, I mean, we do focus on the lake, and I grumble some about how much we put towards the lake, and sometimes I feel like the red-headed stepchild 5 miles up the road. But at this point here, I could certainly support doing something for the village and the town of Lake George in the future, maybe through sales tax.
I just want to make it clear, Mr. Chairman, that I wanted to bring this to the attention of the supervisors, and I was told, come to the OCTEX meeting. I didn't care where I went. I just wanted to be down here at the county center talking to somebody.
Well, we've heard the numbers on Americaid every year. We've heard how much money America brings in. It concentrates in the village, in the town of Lake George. I think, I think that's the avenue we ought to look at, but we'll see where it goes. I hope.
Matt?
That's just my belief.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Mr. Garrity. We all have benefited from the village of Lake George and the town of Lake George for a long time throughout the whole county. I mean, you look at all of our print, Lake George area. I certainly can support whatever we can come up with to help the village. It's very important that we pull together and make this happen.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I think, I'm just going from memory, but if you read the Warren County guidelines on OCTAC spending, I think you'll find that infrastructure is an allowed item if it's related to the promotion of tourism. It is? Okay. And it's towards the last page of it. I'm just going from memory. But capital projects, expenditures may be made for capital projects which facilitate use by tourists and/or increase tourism to an area by improving the aesthetic qualities of the municipality, enhancing the environment, improving infrastructures related to tourism, conventions, trade shows, and developing and operating, maintaining parks, recreation facilities, tourist attractions. So it clearly, infrastructure is an allowed occupancy tax expenditure. So thank you.
Thank you, John. Gene?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up, and you got it before me. There is a part in there, and I think we can do a little both, because I'd like to see, we do give Glens Falls almost $600,000 for sewage. We should be able to get some tax, it'll have to be by the end of this year or something like that, but if you can give us a little bit of an idea how much you would need yearly until you solve your problem. I mean, I'm looking at a number that if we can do a little hot tax, a little sales tax, we gotta help the village. There's no doubt about it. I don't think anybody in this room can debate it. It's gotta be done and taken care of, because if the lake gets destroyed by sewage, it could hurt all of us in the whole county.
Well, the asking would be $200,000
A year?
a year would make it fairly affordable. I mean, it would cut the 40% down to 20, it would cut 66% down to 33, and that's just based on this year's budget. We obviously are going to have some revenues coming in, but also we're being told that the O&M, the operation and maintenance cost of this treatment plant, is going to be substantially higher than our plant now that you've got a photograph, because the technology is higher, the electrical costs are going to be higher. So we really don't know what to anticipate there, but we do know it's going to be costly. That's the main thing.
So I think we gotta have maybe a workshop instead of trying to do everything today. Let's go over a lot of numbers, and I think it's workable, and we can kind of help you out that way. And the way you make it sound to us, if you get money, then we can stop that payment or team it down a little bit. So I think we gotta work on something instead of we can sit around and go over numbers.
We're not going to be obviously paying on the bond until 2021. When the plant is completed, we won't be borrowing the total amount. So the urgency is not right now. The urgency will be when we start to make those bond payments in total, which could be in 2021.
Great. Claudia, did you have something else you wanted to say?
No, I don't, thank you. I'll look forward to a workshop on this.
Doug?
That's what I was just going to say. I concur with Gene. I think we need a full board workshop on this. It's such an important issue for all of us in the county, and from a financial standpoint, obviously it's that important too. So I would definitely support a full board workshop on this, and we can hear from other parties even, so that they can all be heard.
Talking to you.
We're talking to you, Ryan.
All right.
Sounds good to me.
We'll get something set up, and we'll get something out to everybody, and including you, Mayor, and see what we can do for you. Mike?
Mr. Chairman, thanks. I think I'm listening and reflecting on what the mayor said. It sounds like a window of opportunity or a window of urgency here that's just a couple of months long before you need to sign contracts. Is that correct?
90 days we have to award the contracts.
So this $200,000 isn't going to make any difference really necessarily, I don't believe, in the contracting of this. So there's a bigger issue here that I think needs to be addressed. And how do we help do that?
Oh, absolutely.
Not to say that we're not going to help, but I look at what we need to do right now. It sounds like we need to really all hands on deck, lids find a way to get some additional funding.
Well, the irony of it is that they're under an order from the DEC. They've complied every step of the way. The DEC has instigated one of the strictest requirements for nitrate, far above any other community in the state of New York for nitrates, and at the same time has been very reluctant to show any money. The governor's got $500 million. I can't believe he can't find $10 million out of that to get us going here. Kevin?
Have we written any letters of support to Albany with the urgency, Chairman? Have we sent anything to Albany on behalf of Warren County saying we need to do this?
Last involvement I had, I accompanied the mayor down to a presentation down in Albany, but we could easily do something right.
I mean,
or even a resolution of the board.
Some of the supervisors have written letters on behalf of their own communities, yes, but not, I don't think from Warren County as a whole.
certainly we would pursue that.
Is that a motion, Kevin?
Yeah, I'll make that a motion.
Second.
Matt, seconds. Any further discussion?
About a bus trip. They go down there.
Get some,
I don't have any money.
Road trip.
get some tops of garbage cans and some.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's what they do.
That's what they do, yeah.
That's what they do in the lobbies.
Any further discussion?
Last time I was down there.
Travis?
Thank you. There was some little discussion about the actual occupancy tax law here, and I appreciate that it's going to continue in the future, and I think that's a good idea. But I only heard from one attorney here in the room, and I think her opinion, there's a lot of things that are out there. There's a Schedule A. When it comes down to that law, there's like 2 sentences in the law, and the law says it's directly related to tourism. And then, all this precedent that you mentioned, we've done all these other things. But I can also remember Mr. Offerdew going ahead and saying, just because you've done something in the past doesn't mean it's right. And it doesn't, that is not a precedent for saying we can do it in the future. It's just never been adjudicated. So, but there are, this is the thing that gets me, is that just last month, $60,000 in occupancy tax was given to take care of invasive species in the lake. Now, to me, that sounds even further afield than, dealing with the sewer plant. Personally, but you would need an attorney to get down to this, but personally, I don't think either one is appropriate, but I think it's something that needs to be determined.
That's a discussion for later. Anybody have anything concerning the motion on the floor? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor, for coming.
Like Mayor.
So you're gonna...
We will.
Take care of it, okay. Okay. Jeff, you're up. We're gonna have a first quarter report from the Cool Center.
Thank you. Good afternoon. First quarter events that happened at our arena. January 15th, we did our annual high school hockey stick game. We had 600 attendees. January 18, 19, and 20, our annual North Stars Girls Youth Hockey Tournament. We do it with Adirondack Youth Hockey. Not a huge amount of fans go, except families, but it's 40 teams, so quite a bit of hotel rooms are used that weekend. January 26th, we did motorcycle ice racing on the ice. We had 1,700 customers, which is pretty cool. January 27th, we did a best of the best high school basketball tournament. We had 3,000 fans. That's when Joe Girard got point number 4,000, I believe, as well. February 3rd, another high school basketball tournament, Sunmark Shootout, 2,000 fans. February 9th, Section 2 Wrestling, which is a high school wrestling event, 3,000 fans for the day. February 16 and 17, we did a gun show in Heritage Hall, 850 customers. February 25 through March 2, Section 2 Basketball High School Finals, just over 15,000 customers came for the week. March 22, 23, 24, Federation Basketball, it was the last year hosting that event. We had 10,800 fans, which was tremendous, and certainly it was a Glens Falls victory, so another really good weekend for downtown in our region. April 4th, we did our circus. We had 3,200 customers show up for the circus this year. That's 2 shows, a little higher than last year. The Thunder, we had 22 home games in 2019. For the full year, attendance is up 6,600 fans for the year, which is 185 fans per game. That's the 5th largest increase in the ECHL. So we were pretty excited about our fan base this year. Last year, we were the #1 increase in attendance in the whole ECHL. So again, being in the top 5 was pretty good. Certainly, most of you know that we're no longer playing. We lost in round 1. That was unfortunate, but off the ice, all of our revenue streams were up for the hockey team as well, which is certainly encouraging. So we're excited about that. Upcoming events, and I'll run through them pretty quickly, but if you've been following, we've got a lot going on. A gun show this weekend. Next Friday was our annual Weight House fundraiser in Heritage Hall. We also have a show May 3rd, 4th, and 5th, which we'll announce publicly soon. We've done it before. SUNY Adirondack graduates May 11th. The Cool Spring Show was May 18 and 19. We're doing with the Post Star and Regional Radio Group. We have a bike ride for our foundation on May 18th, the Glens Falls Civic Center Foundation. BOCES graduation June 21. Travis Tritt and Charlie Daniels Band June 23rd. That's been a pretty popular show so far. South Glens Falls graduation June 27. Queensbury graduation June 28th. We've got a big show on July 8th, which we'll announce in middle of May. Godsmack July 21, a hard-rocking concert, which we're pretty excited about. They were there in 2015. It was a really good show. We do a high school hockey tournament August 8, 9, 10, 11. The ice goes back in, of course. Overtime hockey camp August 12th to the 23rd. The Aurora Games comes to Glens Falls August 20, 21, and 22. It's a female hockey event that we'll have for 3 days down at the arena. We're doing our first annual Adirondack Thunder Hockey Camp, which will be led by our head coaches and some other former NHL players, August 26th through 30. It's sold out. We'll have 2 sessions, so we're excited to start that. We believe it'll help youth hockey players and certainly the brand for the Adirondack Thunder. Bill Engvall, comedian, September 13. Another gun show, October 5 and 6. Ghost, which is another concert, October 26. Our annual rodeo, November 1 and 2. We've got a concert confirmed for November 21. I can't tell you who it is, but I know a lot of people on my board are excited about the show, so that'll narrow it down a little bit for y'all. New York State Volleyball, November 22, 23, 24. And we've got 6 other concert offers in for the end of 19, early 20, so we've been busy. Can I answer any questions?
We had Intercounty, which is the 10 counties in the Adirondacks. In your absence, we went down to the center and got a tour, and I want to tell you it's very impressive, the things you've done to the building and for the facilities. We went in the locker rooms. They wouldn't give me a ride in the Zamboni. They wouldn't let me drive it. It's probably a good thing. Your additions and your it's just great. It's exciting to be there. It really it shows your involvement and your investment, and some of the programs that you're working on and future things you hope to do are as exciting as well. It was very impressive for Warren County to host the rest of the counties down at the center. So good job.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything for Jeff?
I just follow up that your staff, they did a great job on the tour. A lot of
Thank you.
interesting areas. So good job.
Thank you.
Doug?
And you handled the potential negative situation with the Federation tournament as good as you could have handled it. And I talked to you personally about it, and I was concerned, but they rent the facility, obviously, the Federation tournament, New York State Basketball Association. So they rent it, and they have, but you guys handle it about as well as it could be handled. So thank you for being cognizant of all the potential situations that could have happened. It went great.
Thanks, Doug. I appreciate that. Certainly, Doug, kind of said how it works. We did what they asked us to do. I think we did it pretty well. I know the Saturday afternoon game when Glens Falls played, we got about 5,500 people in the building in 45 minutes. So I was a little surprised that we could do it that efficiently as well, but we think it went as well as we could have done for the arena, so thank you.
Thanks for not kicking me out.
Oh, yeah,
No,
you bet.
Mike, you have something?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thanks. Jeff, we're occupancy tax, and you've brought out a string of events.
Yes.
That sound really impressive. but let's think of it in different terms, occupancy, and the percentage of days you have to fill for events versus last year. And how are you doing? And I've asked this before, and I'm sorry, I'm going to pontificate a little bit, about how long our supplement to your organization from the county is going to continue. So I'm not looking for an answer for that today, but let's try to go at it slightly a different way. How far or how fast are you growing in type of events that are happening, or are we on par with where we were last year or the year before?
Yeah. Well, based upon what we've booked for 19 so far, we expect to be ahead of 2018. You know, if we go from 85 to 100 events, which I think we're on target for, that'll be a pretty good year. So we're trying to grow as much as we can. Certainly, you know, we've had a successful run of booking some concerts lately, but so we're continuing to get better at bringing in shows, I think. Which, you know, obviously the more shows we're bringing, more people are coming to Glens Falls, into the Lake George region, which, you know, certainly generates sales tax, occ tax. So, you know, our goal is to bring in as many events as we certainly can handle, and that, you know, our demographic can support.
You know, just the next time, if you could kind of give us that sense of how we're moving, maybe a trend, graph, something like that.
Yeah, what we have in the books for the rest of 19 is substantially better than 18 and even 17. So, yep. In quarter one was successful for us. It was better than last year's quarter one, and a lot of that certainly has to do with some of the high school basketball events we hosted, and obviously Adirondack Thunder hockey being much more popular.
Mike, if I understood what you asked him, we're going to be paying forever.
Pardon me?
We're going to be paying forever.
We're going to give it $200,000 to the Civic Center forever?
We're at $250,000.
I'm sorry, $250,000.
Yeah.
That's the plan?
We're going to be at that number or near it for quite a while. No civic center in the United States makes any money. You have to look at the positive of that. That's what Jeff's given you.
We're trying to look at. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to look at. I'm trying to.
They're never going to be able to get enough events in that arena to pay what they need to pay to keep the building going. They have zero capital fund. They got a 20-year-old roof. It's acres in size. So if that was your question, you need to change your mindset a little. My goal is to get them to settle on a number.
I would hope that
That
the
they
number
can-
plateaus and drops over time because they've established a certain.
Well, as it gets older, it's harder and harder to keep up. That's my take on it. If you want to argue about it, I'll be glad to argue with you.
Not today.
Tomorrow. Ben?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick comment, and it also relates to our previous speaker, Mayor Blaze. We're going to be talking a little bit more about his request, but I would suggest that some of the improvements that the coalition has been able to make with some of the county money, the upgrades to the restrooms, the concessions, basically the ambiance of the building, the amenities that people really depend on and demand, you know, when they go for that experience. Might call that infrastructure, but I really think that that's part of the marketing of the facility. We've got good friends who are on their way down to Washington, D.C. for the school vacation, and one of the places that they're going to go to is the Lincoln Memorial. I was down there on vacation a couple of years ago, and we told them, go to the bathroom before you get to that facility. A national treasure, but you don't want to go into those bathrooms. I'm down there quite a bit, and I talk to people, and they do appreciate the fact that the restrooms are clean and that they have additional options in the concessions. Those are the things that they talk about, not the score, necessarily of the game, but if the restrooms are dirty, if they're the hot dogs weren't cooked properly. That's what they're talking about, and that's going to impact their coming back again, or visitors to the area. That's what they're talking about. The concessions and the bathrooms were clean and good food. They're going to come back more. So it is part of the, I think, the marketing of the facilities.
Thank you.
Chairman
talk
Connell?
about that. Thanks.
Yeah, I heard a number when I was there, the total expenditures for capital costs. I think the number was in the 20 to 15. Is that correct?
Yeah, when we did our economic impact study last fall, which I believe everybody has here by Camoin. Certainly the economic impact of the arena was $13.2 million, and the annual guest has increased to $225,000 per year.
25,000.
Yes,
You're
sir.
on track for more than that.
Yeah, well, certainly, I think we'll be at least 225, maybe a little bit more. Last year we did have a few extra playoff games, which we won't have this year, but certainly we've got a number of extra events already on the calendar for 19, so I think 225 is at least a solid number for 2019.
Yeah, to the extent you're popular, do we still try to track that, ticket sales on a zip code basis, or how good are we at knowing where?
Anybody that buys a ticket with a credit card, we certainly have their zip code information. If they buy it with cash, we don't always get it. So, you know, for the Federation Basketball Tournament, a lot of fans pay in cash. So unfortunately, we don't get that zip code data. Everybody that pays with a credit card, we have it. And we know, at least for Friday and Saturday, a lot of our fans came from down in the New York City area. So we can get a pretty good snapshot for that event as to how many actually paid with a credit card and where they came from.
That's all, Mr. Chairman. My only point was to give people a sense of how many people are paying coming through the gate, and also that we're trying to track where they might be coming from and their staying in our area. I think that's all important.
Claudia?
Thanks. I just wanted to reiterate, if anybody doesn't have that economic impact study, you should get a copy. It's very informational. And the other thing is, I think that you guys submit a report to the county every so often. That would be something that maybe Supervisor Wild would like to see.
Sure. Yeah, we're happy to submit any report that you all do want. Yeah, absolutely.
Chairman, thanks. Just one last comment. My only reason for doing this is because we don't have any reasonable measures to identify whether we're getting some type of value from the money we're spending. Then how do we know if we're just throwing good money after bad? I'd like to see some kind of measures. Right? And it's hard to measure advertising effectiveness and everything else. But for something like the Civic Center, we should be able to measure the trend in events and the trend in
I
people
think,
that attend, and just use that as a poor measure to say we're moving in the right direction.
have you seen the impact statement there?
I'll look at it. Yeah. I
So
will.
you haven't seen it?
I'm just asking for some measures.
Well, there's a lot of information in there. I think it's what you're looking for. And that was...
Not to interrupt you, we've done 2 economic impact studies since we took over. In 15 and 16, the economic impact was $10.2 million. And we did another one, obviously, last fall, which showed over $13 million. So, and we used Camoin, which is a pretty, established national firm. So please, take a look at that impact. And if you have any questions, I can certainly answer your question, or Dan Burke can help us. Thank you.
Travis?
Thank you. I think you're absolutely right, Dennis, that there's very few of these arenas that actually make money on their own. But if you look at the impact on the area and tourism and such, and you see who's going to dinner beforehand, you can't help but come away saying there's a lot more money being used in the pockets there than whether that facility is making money or not. And one of the things that got me is we lost that large basketball tournament to Binghamton. And what it turns out is that they used tax to go ahead and lower the rates on the facility there, and they want them in. Now, I think I've heard, maybe Jeff can explain, but I think we also made accommodations to try to win them back. And this is what I think occupancy tax money is for, so that they can try to work deals like that, get in, because that was a statewide tournament. It's going to bring in a lot of people into the community. Am I wrong on that?
There were other extenuating circumstances when we lost the basketball. I did approach Doug Kenyon at the time and said, we have tax if that's the difference. That wasn't what it was. It was more backdoor politicking than anything.
Yeah, I think I think if really we're honest about what the arena looked like in 2015, the arena was in really rough shape. We didn't have enough locker rooms. Our video board was old. Their audio was just poor. So we were fortunate enough to get the grant from New York State and really upgrade the building. Obviously we won the bid, but I think, and Mr. Kenyon was certainly right. There were some politics there as well, but Yeah, we did offer a $0 bid to bring the basketball tournament back, and we did the same thing to win the volleyball bid a few years ago. So that's kind of how it seems to be trending with the NISFA group, and we know how important these events are to Warren County and the hotel rooms and the economic impact they have. So the arena will still make a few dollars. Don't feel too bad for us, but with the less rent, we won't make as much as we used to. But it's so important for the region. We felt like we had to do it.
Absolutely. John?
Yeah, well, as it was mentioned by Supervisor Dickinson and others, that it's very difficult for civic centers to make money, so we're supplementing the operating costs. Well, one of the things that hasn't been addressed and probably needs to, sooner than later, are the capital costs. The maintenance of that building and the upkeep, I think, Supervisor Driscoll was talking about the bathrooms and so forth. But if you go through that building and you see the potential for huge maintenance costs that are forthcoming, I think that we have to address that.
It has...
The normal operating revenues are not addressing it.
So has that been presented as a plan?
No, I'm just saying.
I've had discussions with the group. It's a high priority on there. They prioritize a lot of what they're doing in all the improvements that they made that have made the arena more compatible and bringing in more people. Obviously came first, but they're concerned about it. The roof's a big issue. Yes, Frank?
There's been a lot of discussion about all the needs in the community for funding and how to get it and where to get it from and how does occupancy tax play in that. The one thing I would suggest we all remember is it's $4.3 million, Mike, something like that's the total. Yeah. So 4.3, it grows at 4 or 5% a year. That's $160-some thousand a year. And when you step into, and we use it largely for promoting events. I think the average in the towns is about $2,500 is the average give in occupancy tax funding. Obviously, pool insuring, which does benefit the tourism community, as a study shows in a meaningful way. $13 million is sitting there. But as soon as you step out of promotion dollars, which could be, there's some numbers that are as low as $50 that are given out if you look through where the money goes. As soon as you step out of that and step into capital, you're going to see numbers with a lot more commas, right? I mean, now we're stepping into bigger and bigger numbers. Occupancy tax growing at $165,000 a year, which I think has been about the last couple of years, with good years in tourism. We will run out of money really fast. So, I think the potential here is not to throttle back where it goes per se, but rather it's to figure out occupancy tax is an engine that is a self-fueling engine. If you get more people to come, they spend more money, they rent a room that generates occupancy tax, do it again. Right? You just keep doing that over and over and over, and it will continue to create cash. What we don't talk about is how are we refueling it? Something that takes money out but doesn't put money back in, eventually will drain this, and eventually we're going to have a change in the economy.
We, Frank, it's a very good issue. We do that internally. We, on occasion, often, we run out the occupancy tax 4 or 5 years to see how we're doing. And you're absolutely right. There's a lot of money in occupancy tax, but when you look at all your obligations, your long-term obligations, and you start putting that out 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to run out of money. And that's one of the reasons why I was grilling the mayor about how much he needed and how long and how soon, so that we can plug him into that formula and see if we can do what he wants done or not. And the second point is, you're absolutely right, we need to revisit our occupancy tax program and decide where we want to redistribute the money. because there's only so much money there.
And my point, Mr. Supervisor, is not, honestly, I'm trying to make a positive comment here, that if we focus on how can we take the power of the tourism economy and really, really push it. So 4% is the wrong number in occupancy tax growth. Make it 8. Change the model, double it, what would happen then? Now that begs the question, what do we do? I mean, as a community, how do we come together and figure out how to do that? It's a wonderful tool we have. We're blessed to have it. There's a lot of communities that don't. So I think the work, the task force that was suggested earlier, my thought would be that was specific to the issue that the mayor raised. I think we have another one that's specific to how do we really grow the tourism economy, and then get that benefit coming through both an occupancy tax, but more importantly through sales tax, which flows directly to the general fund.
Okay. Anybody have anything more for Jeff? Thank you very much, Jeff. Appreciate you coming. Keep it up. Okay. Lake George Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau. Kristen? You couldn't find any place to go for spring break?
No, I'm here. I wanted to be here. Sunshine's here, why not? Good afternoon, everybody. In front of you, you'll find the first quarter report and the 2019 marketing, advertising, and promotional calendar. So our mission here is really to be the driving force in terms of generating business, guaranteed business, actively booking and soliciting year-round and recession-proof business in the meetings, conventions, reunions, and sporting market. Some of these events are booked months and even years in advance, and this office continues to be a driving economic conduit for tourism in this region. So in 2018, we had 27 bookings, 7,711 room nights, for an economic impact of $4.1 million. In 2019, our goal is a minimum of 10,500 room nights, an increase of 36% over 2018 for an economic impact goal of $5.5 million. Currently, we are at 14 bookings from January to March, with 4,811 room nights booked and a $1.3 million economic impact so far year to date. So that is, at this point, 42% of our entire year-to-date goal, or from January to March. So what's creating this economic impact in the region this year? Well, technological impact. Come on. Maybe. How did that work? I don't know. Having technical difficulties. It does not want to move.
Where's our techies?
By the way, the battery.
Let's see if it works. Nope, stuck. Gosh, I hate it when that happens.
Is it on?
Oh, there it is.
You should probably click forward with that.
All right, let's
Moving.
It is moving. Let's try that one.
There you go.
Oh, Amanda, you want to click forward?
Yep.
Don't play with it.
All right.
I heard the council.
We'll go for a 2 for 2 here. All right, so what's creating this economic impact so far? Sporting events like the New York State Bowling Championships, which have been occurring from April and May, with 1,000 room nights and 1,600 attendees. The Ariva Volleyball Team USA Regional Championships are coming in May 4th and 5th for 1,200 room nights, about 3,800 attendees, brand new event, looking for a 3 to 5 year contract, 135 teams. Brand new event, Firecracker Baseball Collegiate Showcase, July 16th through 21st. About 1,400 attendees, 400 room nights, 50 teams maxing out this year. They expected 30. In addition, we also have new events coming up as well. We've got the New York State Psychological Association Conference coming in this year, U.S. Motor Transport Conference coming in later this year, the New England Barbershop Quartet, and Hemmings Concours d'Elegance also as additional events that are reoccurring and coming back for this year. On the horizon, to build new future business with local organizers, we're working with and have worked with New York State Public High School Athletic Association, which you heard Jeff talk about earlier, and on the housing side, help win the bid for 2020 to 22 with 1,740 potential committed rooms and 30,000 attendees. And then the United Church of God Feast of Tabernacles, which just came in last year, coming back in 2021 for a total of 1,200 room nights and about 1,400 attendees. That's about a week-long event that takes precedence all around the area. They do take rooms in multiple different hotels and lodging properties. In addition, we also have biodynamics coming in this year for about 800 attendees as well. Okay. So what are we doing different? And what are we doing to really bring more business through this year? We're doing it through targeted and aggressive year-round marketing. We're mining new past leads from old trade shows. We're rekindling interested parties with event planners. We're enhancing our digital engagement before, during, and after our marketplaces with e-blasts and videos. We're placing key print advertising and focusing on state and local association, corporate business. Next. So some of our video campaigns that we've been running, we've aggressively been targeting the sporting market as well as the association and corporate markets locally. I don't know if we'll see if that plays. I don't know if it will. It may not. It's okay, we'll skip. Ahead, please, Amanda.
You'll send the videos outside.
I'll send it at the end. I'll send the entire program. Next. So again, going back to talk about the targeted year-round meetings, conventions, print and digital advertising, here's some examples of some of the things that we've been doing, running them in the Albany Business Review, with Albany Broadcasting as well, with the focus on the state, local, association, corporate business. This is low-lying fruit nearby that we are working with the different organizations. Okay, next. In addition, we're also reaching hard, fast, and furious into our sporting market. We're starting to see really those trends upticking. Most of our promotion is going through digital and through print, but we're targeting some very specific to those key stakeholders and the people that are actually making those decisions. Next. So some of the highlights so far year to date in the corporate market, like I mentioned, placing some advertising in our campaign with the Albany Business Review, reaching about 78,000, over 78,000. Albany Broadcasting Radio reaching 184,000. State and Association through Essay, their website. Our e-blast that we have going out ongoing monthly and bi-monthly. Next. And then in sports, with our print and digital outreach, reaching over 11,000 in our e-newsletter through the various different partners that we work with Destination Sports Management and Sport Event Magazine, as well as working through 18,000 event rights holders. We've also been recognized by Sport Event Magazine as a Reader's Choice Award winner and a Who's Who in Sport Leadership. And on the adventure travel side, we'll be hosting up to 20 international media and travel writers in June for a guaranteed of a potential 20 or more articles, blogs, and media placements in areas such as National Geographic, Outside Magazine, Men's Health, Washington Post, just to name a few. And that event will be going on June 9th through 13th. We'll actually be hosting 2 pre-FAMs in the area, and then I Love New York will be doing a post-FAM in 2 different regions for ATTA. I'm sorry, familiarization tour. It's, thank you, sorry, lingo. Thanks. To continue our outreach and new business solicitation, we'll also be going to marketplaces and trade shows in the upcoming months. So from May through September, I'll be heading out in a couple of weeks to the National Association of Sport Commissions. We've got about over 40 appointments, one-on-one. Basically think of speed dating, but for the meetings and conventions and sport markets. These are pre-selected appointments that we go and are pre-screened and therefore have RFPs and a lot of business that comes back after that. We'll then be heading to GovBuy, SA, SBA, Your Military Reunion, focused specifically on military reunions coming to the area, Connect with over 80 appointments, Sport Relationship Conference, and small market meetings. And that's just the snapshot from May through September. Most of these marketplaces average on anywhere from 28 to 50 to 60 appointments over the course of 2 to 3 to 4 days. You can see here, just to give you an idea of what that looks like, Most of the time, I'm the person walking around, or one of our colleagues is walking around, Gina or someone else, and you go to each one of these booths and you're having anywhere from a 3 to 5 minute conversation, giving a pitch. And so that's how these work. And then you come back, and a lot of it is in the follow-up. Next. So in addition, we work really closely with our partners at the New York State DMO Association. We will continue that, and we'll be working together for a partnership and an invite and reception at National Association of Sport Commissions coming up in a couple of weeks with the sports folks, and then at ASAE, which is another marketplace which will happen in August, with primarily focused on the association and corporate markets. So as we look into Q2, we're pacing strong. We're happy with the results year to date, the fact that we're at 42% already of our entire goal. We have 33 pending new events with a possible 10,451 new room nights year to date. If all 33 events that are currently in the pipeline right now are booked, it equates to about $2.8 million in potential economic impact. And these are just active accounts that are already working on in the pipeline, and it does not include any of that new business that is going to be generated through the course of these marketplaces that we will be attending in the next 3 to 6 months, as well as other outreach that we'll be doing through our marketing and other initiatives. So.
And if I could just add, this is all weatherproof business, so it doesn't matter if we have a good year, it's raining or whatever, these people are coming here. It's year-round business, and it's also recession-proof business, booked years out in advance. So that's why this is so important.
And we're booking business right now anywhere from 2019 up to 2024. So there are bids out right now, out that far.
Excellent. Anybody have any questions anymore?
Okay. I will be sending this out also afterwards, so you'll be able to see the videos that come with the presentation if you'd like.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Amanda. We have a resolution request to continue the intermunicipal contract with the Village of Lake George Visitor Center. That's the center on the corner of Main Street, Canada Street, and the Beach Road.
Is it in the packet?
The same as it was last year?
Actually, it was
We've
just
been
one
doing
piece.
this for years.
Was it just the one piece of paper that? No. 6851, that's not it? Okay, I'm sorry.
It's the $25,000?
Yeah, for 25,000 we should have done it prior.
And is
before
that the
this,
same
at
as
this
the
point.
previous years?
We've been doing it for many years.
It's in the budget, right?
Yes.
John?
I'll make a motion.
Kevin?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Yes. I was looking for it. Oh. Okay. You're up.
Thank you. So the planning department has received smart growth funding, which we'll discuss this in more detail in the meeting on Monday. But we had a 4-component RFP that went out for First Wilderness marketing and social media campaign. Part of the funding with that grant award, we used to get a bid on updating the panels in Lake George Visitor Center. So if you've been at the same Visitor Center, we're just talking about the panels. There's like a curved wooden display when you first walk in, and there's a large poster-sized panel for each community in the county. They're fairly out of date, 10 plus years out of date, and kind of focused on historical things in each community. We would like to update those to be a little bit more current, to be focused on things to do in each community. the Smart Growth grant funding will cover the redesign of those panels for the 7 communities that are in the First Wilderness Heritage Corridor. Because we don't want to update just those 7 and leave the other 5 as being the old ones. So we are hoping to get occupancy tax money to include the additional 5 towns in the full redesign project. And we'd like to include this in our contract, which is why I'm coming to this meeting ahead of the start of the meeting, so that we can execute this contract for full flow communities.
So there are 5 towns outside of the wilderness designation that she's talking about. They're $1,370.20 per town, which is $6,851. So they're talking about occupancy tax paying $6,851.
That'll last for another 10
Pat?
years.
Make a motion.
All right, got a, yeah, hopefully. Got a motion from Matt, is there a second? Second from Ben. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Good job. Okay. Andrea, do you want to go next with your request?
Not really my ask, it's the North Creek
Joel?
Business Alliance, so Joel Bowden.
Joel Bowden from the North Creek Alliance.
Yeah, our requests are much less complex than the things I've heard earlier today. Again, I'm Joel Bowden from the North Creek Business Alliance. Mike Bauer is here. Mike is the president of the association. I'm the vice president, and we are co-founders of this organization. We founded this organization in 2009, and it's a vehicle to, we meet once a week, every Thursday, except for Thanksgivings. We have only we have no membership, we have no dues. We have about 15 to 25 people attend our meetings each week, and we only have 2 rules in our agenda, and one is that only one person speaks at a time, and meetings only last an hour. So I think that's why we've been doing this for 10 years in a row, and as I say, we've met every Thursday except for Thanksgiving for those 10 years. We're here to ask for $90,000 to purchase 2 new shuttle buses. One would be a new one, and one would be a second-hand one. There's 2 reasons we need 2 vehicles. One is capacity. Oftentimes in the afternoon coming back from Gore, we're full up and we need 2 vehicles to handle it. We use 14-passenger school buses because you don't need a CDL to drive them, and our drivers are it's easier to find people without the CDLs. And the other reason we need 2 vehicles is backup. Lots of times, one of the vehicles, in the past at least, one of the vehicles is down. Hopefully with this request we will not have any downtime, but we still need one as a backup, because if you get 30 or 40 or 50 people up at Gore on a given Saturday afternoon, then they seem to all want to come home at the same time. Backing up to my notes, the Business Alliance was formed in 2009. We meet every Thursday. The idea is to share ideas, promote tourism industry in North Creek and the northern Warren County. Soon after the Alliance was formed in 2009, we deemed it a necessity to establish a shuttle service from downtown North Creek, the hotels and motels and the businesses down there, to Gore Mountain, in order to become a destination ski town. We've accomplished that, I think, and there's many people who rely on the shuttle to come and use our town. After contracting the shuttle service the first 2 years, in 2013 we purchased 2 aging shuttle buses, both of them with over 100,000 miles on them. One became unrepairable in 2016. We replaced that with a bus we purchased from the nursing home because they determined that bus was unreliable. So that's where we are now with the two vehicles we own. The 2013, one of the original vehicles was had its last winter by our mechanic. So we're desperately in a need for replacement for that. Last winter, last ski season, the shuttle buses were in the shop 30 days. Last season we operated a total of 36 days, transporting over 1,900 passengers from various locations downtown and the Summit Condominium Complex to Gore. Last winter, Gore Mountain hosted over 215,000 skier visits. 94% of those, or 105,000, were overnight guests. Only 35% of them stayed in the Gore region. The remainder of over 68,000 visitors stayed somewhere else in Warren County. The average stay was 2.76 nights. My point there is that it's not just North Creek. We are a driving economic factor in the ski business, and becoming a destination ski town was our goal in the beginning. In your packet is the ORA 2016-17 Economic Impact Study, which includes much interesting information on the ski center's progress during the last year. Also in your packet, I've supplied over 20 letters of support for this request, including the town of Johnsburg, Gore Mountain, the Summit Condominium Complex. That's over 85 units up there, and our major ridership comes from up there. Letters from local businesses and just plain riders who have found the service invaluable. The shuttle service supports a vital tourist industry, both in North Creek and all of Warren County. During the rest of the year, our shuttles are used to back up rafting companies who have breakdowns. They have old junker buses also. We often are called upon to furnish transportation for them and backing up if they have more than customers that they can do. The Iditarod, which is a major road biking event, we've furnished transportation for them for the past 3 years, I believe. And we also serve as a backup to Revolution Rail. The rail business is a touchy subject in anybody's note here, but Revolution Rail has been a lifesaver to North Creek. Its operations start in North Creek and end in North Creek, and it's been a major driving economic plus for our town since the other railroad went out of business. Also in your packet I've included some quotes for both new and used buses. Just to give you an idea of what the prices are. There's certainly quotes that we will go out to bid or at least explore our best options. I'm sure we can get better prices than that. There's several very good bus companies that sell both new and used vehicles. And again, those numbers we'll go out and find the best available pricing. This enterprise is a collaboration for both public and private funding. Our support comes from three major areas. A third of our business funding comes from advertising we sell on the buses. That's all local businesses. A third of our funding comes from donations, both from passengers and various organizations within the township. And a third of our funding comes from the town of Johnsburg. We feel that the purchase of these vehicles will meet our needs for the next 10 years. And I guess that's the end of my spiel, and I'll take questions if there are any.
Joel, we, the county purchased at least one of your last buses with Octax.
That's correct.
So I have a couple questions for you. So who actually bought the buses? Was it the town or?
No, the North Creek Business Alliance bought them and owned them.
So that's actual standalone corporation?
We're not-for-profit 501c6.
Okay. And the reason I ask you that is one of your options here is to finance these over a period of time with a commitment from Warren County to pay a certain amount each year.
That would be a option we would certainly entertain. Our problem is
How old is this second bus? How many miles?
223,000. The second one, the most reliable one.
Okay. So that's one you have now?
Yes.
All right. So you're looking for one new one?
Yes, we would like to have one new one, and if possible, a second, better, lower mileage.
So you're looking for one new one and one used?
That's
used
correct.
one. Okay.
Now, I didn't mention we are doing other funding. We've got some grant applications out. We've received one small one, and we're waiting to hear from another one. And we have some private finance. We have some savings that we've saved over the years it's about $10,000, and all of that would be go towards reducing the cost.
Correct.
And a grant from the county would only be whatever we would need. It wouldn't be if we get it, if we could buy a bus for 60,000 or 55 or whatever, that would be what we would. And as I understand it, we have to buy the vehicle first, and then we submit the payment. So we would be only asking the county for what we need.
Right.
These estimates are ideal,
Right.
the maximum.
So I have two more questions. Andrea, how much does the town contribute, and is that Octax money?
We contribute both Octax and in the budget. We give them $4,500. What did we give them, $2,500 budget this year, and $4,500 out of Octax.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. So what are you thinking you're going to be looking for, dollar-wise?
As much as we can get.
If you look at the quotes, a new one and a used one,
I looked at them.
the middle of the road came
Yeah.
in combined
Yep.
close to $90,000.
If you were to finance 90,000 over 10 years at the present interest rate, you're probably looking at $11,000 a year. But you said you have some money and you have some income, so I need to know how much that is, how much you're really asking us for, I guess.
Well, that's a hard question. As I said, we have $10,000 in savings. We've applied for a grant from the Glens Falls Foundation, which we haven't heard from yet. We plan fundraising events for at least $7,500, which is our shortfall in our annual budget. Our annual budget for the Alliance is about $45,000, and at present we're $7,500 in my budget as a shortfall, which we would do through fundraising events. We're trying to do a raffle, maybe a golf tournament.
Kevin?
Is there any way you can partner up with the county transfer for them to buy the buses? Because the state contract price, there's some pricing there, could you get a better price? And, I don't know, you're not quite as a county government, but is there any way the county transfer could step in, Andrea, and try to find the equipment?
We're, at this point, we're really supporting them at the maximum that we can. We can look
But I mean,
into,
you know-
right, we can look into some kind of an agreement where they can access our purchasing power, absolutely, but I'd have to see what that would mean in terms, legally and in terms of insurance. Yeah.
We do allow all our emergency squads to purchase fuel from the county through the towns and that way, but I just didn't know if there's any way you could try to help them legally to purchase this equipment at a more reasonable price than being a separate entity.
I think it
We
would
can-
be
we can
easier all
certainly-
around
Huh?
if you were to do that, Andrew.
We can certainly look at that, but I mean, I view this ask as nothing different than, for instance, Cool Arena. They're a separate entity from the town. I came in here with them to show my support. But, you know, we're supporting them financially at the maximum of our capacity at this point.
We understand that. That's not the point.
No, I hear you. On the purchasing power, I can look into that legally
Yep.
and insurance-wise and what
So
that
the
would
bottom line is you're going to find out what these two vehicles are going to cost you, or some reasonable guess. You know what you can contribute.
Right.
Joel knows what they can contribute. You need to come back and tell us what you need to make up the difference.
I thought Joel had those numbers, to be honest with you. I mean, 25 is one of the quotes here for a used bus. What was the new bus?
60.
60.
So it's the 90,000 he opened up with.
Yeah, that's where,
But my point is, of that 90, how much is the town and how much is the Alliance going to be able to put up every year?
Sounds like they've got 10 to put down every year. What can we put down?
They got 10 in savings. I assume he did that over a period of time.
problem lies here in that we have no, I mean, we could go to the bank, and I've been to the bank, and they can't lend us any money because we have no guaranteed income.
Right.
We sell this advertising every year, and we have done that since 2013. So, and we have no assets except these two old junkers that are maybe worth $500 a piece at the junkyard. So,
help me out here, Ben.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned the Glen Falls Foundation. There's the Pure Salt Foundation, a few other organizations that cover your catchment area. And then the second part of that question is, do you get any funding from Friends at Gore?
yes, we do.
Okay.
It's a mere $1,500 a year. And we've only gotten that for 2 years, 3 years, I guess. So.
Even though you carry that many people with them?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, just a question about maintenance. I would expect your maintenance costs are going to go down significantly, right?
I would hope they'd disappear.
What have you been paying the last few years in maintenance on this?
We paid $3,000 last year in maintenance. And the budget for shuttle operations is $24,000. So $3,000 is a sizable chunk of that.
Well, I think the issue for us may be, stop me if I go awry here. So they're looking at approximately $90,000 in equipment, a new one and a used one. And they've got approximately $7,000 committed per year.
So we can't get a loan.
Correct, Ingrid?
Joel is here. Address the question to him.
Well, no, I mean, is the town willing to commit that money to them for 10 years?
The town has committed $4,500 in occupancy tax this year. That's a committee process, so I can't speak to that, but we can commit $2,500 on an annual basis.
All right, everybody.
Help me out, Craig.
Yeah, we funded a vehicle once before.
That's correct.
And what was that amount?
$27,000.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking.
And that bought both those vehicles at that time.
Yeah. How long ago?
It-
2013.
What do we have in the fund? Do we have any discretionary money in the fund this year?
We have some money, Kevin, we've been hammering away at it. We got 4 applications here that,
Right, but I mean, I'm just thinking, you know, this is long-term, we're talking about something that would last them for 10 years. I mean,
well, that's why I was kind of hoping to do it in payments and not strap us financially, but you're talking about just giving them a lump sum and let them buy it.
well, I was hoping that we could try to work with them to try to get them better pricing, you know, through
Right.
our purchasing, but if the town of Johnsburg can't do...
Trust me, we will try to find the best deal available. And
Right, I understand that, but sometimes...
And we'll try to help them as we can, absolutely.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't you proceed along that line and see what you can find to purchase and how much it is, and then see what's committed to it so far and bring that number back to us.
frankly, I submitted that number because it's been my experience in the past, we've never gotten what we asked for, and I thought we would get part of it. And so I'm kind of ill-prepared to tell you how much money I need. I'm being just totally honest.
Asking for the purchase price of the equipment, that's what you're looking for.
Right, it's all purchased. Well, there's a little additional. We have advertising cost to put on them for our advertisers. So,
Right,
that's
but right now
minimal.
you're kind of looking for money for the purchase of the buses to help you out.
We're looking for a reliable bus, at least one, and hopefully 2. And the most reliable would be brand new. So that's where we are. The operational, when any given Friday you don't know whether you have 1 bus or 2 to operate on, or maybe even none. It's pretty stressful.
Yeah, it is.
Chairman Conover?
Yeah, I supported this request the last time it came through. I've been around or remember that request coming through. You know, I know in Bolton when, you know, we have Glens Falls Mass Transit, it comes during the summer months carrying thousands of people, but on the other parts of the year, you know, we have to kind of patch it together. American, Sagamore, and their buses or whatever. And my reaction is first, thank you for what you do and what your organization does. In my estimation, you do it at a fraction of what a public service, let me just imagine if it was like a public busing service. And it's very important, at least for us when we do it in Bolton, it's very important for the quality of the visitor experience, because a lot of people, they just want to park their car and they want to go have a good time. They don't want to get in the vehicle and then drive, right? And it adds to, I think, the concept of what you're developing, is my understanding, or the concept of what you're trying to develop in Johnsburg, which is, you know, by any measure, you know, our premier wintertime program. And I would hope that, you know, if we could get some sharp numbers, that we could find, you know, some level of assistance that would be important. I think it's important, quality of the program that they offer, the service they offer, and the continued development of their overall winter activity, you know, connecting the various ski slopes, the hamlet, and everything that's going on there. And that they have a community organization, and once again, that is kind of taking this bull by the horns and is here asking for some assistance. I mean, I think it's just the whole thing is just not.
So that's your recommendation? Get a sharper number and bring it back?
Yeah, I would get a specific number.
Okay.
And I guess my question would be, you know, and let's put a timeline on this. We have to make a decision. We have to have these things purchased by a certain date, right? And that's right. This thing needs to be operational by
Right.
a certain point in time. You know, so that's important for us to know that as well.
Well, we won't need anything. I mean, we can get by through the summer with the vehicles we have, but starting in the ski season, that would be the absolute deadline. And from these companies that I quoted, they have these buses available all the time, so I would think 30 days from time of purchase to delivery.
Well, I think if the town can purchase them for you, you're gonna find a significantly lower
No,
number.
are you gonna ask Glens Falls if they're gonna help Cool Arena? Are you, you know,
We have 2 buses, Andrea, in the town of Lake George. The town bought both of them. And we manage them. It's up to you. It's your town. Craig?
When you think about these, they're rolling advertisements as well that are out there, basically 365, if they're usually parked across from the Alpine Lodge, right? You know, so that they're often seen. When we look at requests that towns are asked for each year for various events, it's a 1-day, 2-day, 3-day event, going anywhere from $1,000 to $6,000 on town-wide scale. So you have something like this. For some reason, $40,000 coming from this committee seems like it could be a doable and justifiable expense for Johnsburg. So,
The issue is whether that's enough for them, and that's the number I can't get.
yeah, you know,
Gene?
I'm sure it's not enough, but it, when you think about this committee weighing out what we do have and what we can do, and it might be enough to be able to engage. You do have 20 good letters of support through here, and you know, the community also pitching in for that. I know that Tri-County Elderwood there got new bus as well. The Rotary Club of North Creek, Rotary Club of Chestertown also pitched in and helped make that happen, that there's ways of making these buses happen.
So is that your motion?
I'll make a motion, $40,000.
Is there a second?
Okay, next week then.
Question first?
Gene?
Can you lease these buses? I'm a little confused with what you...
Yeah, I did. I looked into that, and the lease would be far more expensive, and once again, we have no guaranteed income.
Yeah,
So
but what is the lease? Because is this one correct for a lease of 976 for 36 months? Is that? I mean, that's $1,000 a month. That's $12,000 a year. I mean, I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but I mean, could you come up with a lease, because we can
We
help
don't
a
need to
lot
move on it
easier
today.
with a yearly
Okay.
thing than a one lump sum at this.
Yeah. Just think
it
about
didn't
that.
seem economically advantageous to lease what I looked into.
Have
I'd be
numbers?
glad to look into
Okay.
it again, but I don't have, I do not have
I don't know,
numbers.
this says lease 36 months.
One of those
900
quotes?
Was that a quote? Is this a
Yes.
lease quote?
I don't think so. Isn't it?
Why don't we just study,
At the bottom,
Yeah.
it says 36 months.
why don't we look into this and
Lease,
look into the
$100 a month.
2014,
contract pricing, see what we
32,000.
can do.
Okay.
Before
Yeah.
we make it, I mean, I wouldn't shoot
Right.
them down, but I mean, let us do some looking on state contract and see if there's something we can do behind the scenes to try to help them out. I mean, I want to help them, but
Same here.
I think
Okay.
we're guessing.
We are.
We really need to
Yeah.
talk to Julie Butler
So let's-
to drill down.
Let's table it.
Joel, we'll take this under advisement. We'll see if we can get some numbers for you,
Get 'em- we-
and see if we can figure out where we are with this.
Before
And
summer, I
we'll
mean,
definitely help you out in some manner.
Yeah.
And I
What
appreciate-
do you
appreciate
need
coming.
from me? What in addition do you need from me?
I don't think we need anything at
I
this
think we're
point.
okay with what we have. We just need to look into, see if there's a different way of.
can,
Yes.
is it possible for Joel to work with the county purchasing department? I mean,
It's possible. It's a possibility.
cut out the middleman here. Is that a
We'll-
possible thing? I don't even...
We'll look into it.
I mean, in other words, you guys could look into it legally, rather than me go engage our
You
lawyer,
don't have
spend
to.
the legal money.
We'll do that.
You know.
We just gotta get through the hoops. Let us see if we can't come up with something before, let's try to commit to them by June and figure out some way where we can try to help them. It seems
That's
like
great.
a
Thank you.
valuable asset, and we just gotta work through this.
I think that's great, but I think it would be better to work it with the county.
We can do that. We always hit roadblocks, but
Mike?
sometimes...
Mr. Chairman, can you give us an idea how many riders you had in the wintertime the last few years? These guys are typically overnight guests, right? So they're spending for some kind of lodging.
1,900 for 36
1,900 last season.
36 days, 58 a day.
So what's an average spend per day for a...
Skiing, the tickets and this. for staying there.
Here's a couple $100.
Yeah, between dinner and lunch and ski tickets and...
That's per day.
We're talking 400 grand of economic impacts to the region.
There's a study of the 2017-2018 GORE
That's how the
economic...
GORE is kind of dropping down.
We can look at that. Just give us a minute.
Yeah.
You know, we can't do it.
Right.
You know,
There's
we know
other
this
ways to
stuff is
look at it.
coming.
It's-
We're ready.
Absolutely.
I mean, look at
Thank you,
this.
Joel. We'll be
Thank
in
you.
touch.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, we got,
Your keys.
Oh, right.
we've had applications for OCTAX money. Each of these has a little different background. The Adirondack Race Management has been coming to Lake George for a long time. They missed the town's deadline. We gave away all our money. It's a really great event. It's the 4th of July. It's a triathlon. It's running, biking, and swimming. They actually swim in the lake. Yes, Ben?
I'll move it.
They've
Familiar with
asked
the organization and-
for, yeah, it's a good organization. They asked for a total of 22. They got 9,000 from the joint. And if we get 9,000 more, I think they'd be all set. Okay? 9,000?
I'll second.
Motion by Ben. Kevin, second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great.
I don't
Did you have a
understand
form?
This set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
Well, thank you, Mr. Permanent. Watch out.
I'm learning.
Dutcher family is having a block party. They had one last year. It was very, very successful at Americade. They have pledged the proceeds from that to go to the Ronald McDonald House in Lake George, the only Ronald McDonald House in a resort. And so it's a great thing. He has asked for
That's for 10.
10, they're asking.
asked for 10. He got 4,500 from the joint, so we're looking at 55. You're making doubting faces at me, Kevin.
Well, I'm confused because if they're just gonna give the money to Ronald McDonald House, why don't we just make a donation to the Ronald McDonald House?
That's what I was...
Well, I don't think he's
thinking
giving that money. He's giving the proceeds, and he's got setup costs and advertising. And
Oh, so there's no guarantee on how much the proceeds?
I don't think so.
I got you.
If they have a good year, it'll probably be more. If they have a bad year, it'll probably be less.
Guarantee if I just make an donation.
Advertising's 2,500. Security, outside services staff 5,000.
It drew a lot of people, right?
Oh, yeah, it was a big success last year. But it's
But-
random.
What did you give
But
out of your
people are-
budget? What, are they late getting into?
No. Gave him
Cut 'em out, Dennis?
gave him 4,500 from the joint. We had 185. Well, you guys cut us back.
I'm just...
We had three times the amount of money was requested as what we had to give out.
I'll make a motion, we give them 5,000.
Okay,
That work?
that'll work. Whatever they get, they'll make do. Matt, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Don't anybody say no.
Let them do it.
Okay, now we have the Barbershop Quartet. They asked for 20,000. They got 9,000 from the joint. She came back in front of the town board and made a plea that she really needed more than the 9,000 to pull this off. It's a nice event. It's well received in the community. They have some real talent show up for this thing. And there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people that come that actually sing, let alone the people that may come to enjoy it. So I think if we could give them another 9,000, they might be able to pull it off.
16,000, there's like 18,000 going to judges.
Mr. Chairman,
Kevin?
I hate to do this. They spent 41,000 and they only take in 20 or no? they take in 37, no, they spent 41, they take in 17. I think they need to close their business. Right?
Not-
That means they're losing 24,000
Not my call, I guess so.
without oxy tax money?
Yeah.
Wow.
Guess so.
Wow.
Yeah, they're,
Does make sense. But it's a good event. How many do they track, Dennis? Did you
Yeah,
get the
where-
count?
where the-
I know you're a big ROI guy. What's the number of room nights? they-
yeah, where's the specs on
I
it?
don't know, Kevin. I know there's a lot of, they had the event last year in the auditorium for the high school.
Is that what they did?
Yeah. So they asked me to welcome everybody there, so I'm backstage, curtains drawn. They start the proceedings, and they're going to sing God Bless America. And it absolutely was unbelievable.
Right.
And there was a chorus on stage behind the screen singing along with them. So they got done singing, and they said, all right, you can go out and welcome me. Out on the screen, the place was packed.
Okay.
Absolutely packed. There was no standing room. There were no seats left, anything. I was amazed. I was totally unprepared.
They have some good groups.
Yeah.
It'd be like barbershop quartet. I'd rather have Led Zeppelin myself.
I'm with you right there.
There you go.
Rather have what?
Led Zeppelin.
So,
That I'd give them 20,000. But anyways,
I'll mention that to her, Kevin.
you want, how much they're looking for 20. Obviously, we can't give them 20.
9.
9?
how many years have they done this now?
They've done it. Well, they did it in Bolton for.
They used to do it in Bolton Landing. But Ron, he
Yeah.
cut right out. He cut right out of the place.
They used to do it in Bolton, and Ron threw them out.
Ron
And
cut 'em
then
right out.
they had a hiatus for a while, and then a few years ago they started coming to Lake George.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years ago.
And there's,
Great activity.
is,
Well, I'll make the motion, 9,000.
Okay, second? Matt, further discussion?
so,
Craig?
right, usually, at the, where's the backup information on these requests? At the town level, we use the same one that Horicon does, because we have so many events between us. They
copied ours. I'm getting criticized for ours.
And you copied Thurman.
I copied Thurman.
Yeah, so, sorry.
What you
What's
have,
the
what you
number
got.
of people expected, things like that? What are,
Well, I'll tell you. I don't know.
yeah,
15 quartets,
what's that?
15 quartets, 10 choruses.
Now, with the,
So,
we've seen the backup on this before. We've seen the whole, the old county application where they number room nights and all that. We've seen this before. It used to be in Bolton Landing. It shifted down to more of a, do you remember, Lisa, what they would?
I don't, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I know that they would put the number of room nights. Obviously, they come and stay because we don't find...
Don't we have
we
the
forgive-
standard application anymore?
We'll give them the money, we'll make sure we get all that.
Came to the town.
This year.
And, yeah, and I just, Thursday left.
Okay.
So we're gonna, in order to go ahead with a county, contract, we'll have to get them. Our own application, our county application, because the attorney's office uses that to make up the contract.
Should we wait for that first, or do we need a judge
I
from?
think that it's coming in May.
Well, this event's quick. It is always in
Yeah.
early May,
Yeah,
around Memorial
she
Day.
needs to know.
I remember this.
I will follow up with, if you go ahead with, I'll follow up with her and make sure that she gives you all the information you want.
Dennis, what's nice too about this is that where the weather's nice, they can, you know, you can get them integrated maybe at like one of your parks or on Main Street. It really makes for an a much more interesting visitor experience, you know what I'm saying? Kind of it's kind of like having a troubadour or somebody strolling the streets or in the parks. And that part of it, it's not like it's locked to an amplification system or it has to be at a certain location, you know, it's something that's has some flexibility. Could have some flexibility.
They must have had, going in front of the joint committee, they must have had application filled out, so we
Do you
have
have that?
numbers.
I have what your friend...
That's just cost and expense, yeah.
Ben?
Mr. Chairman, did I miss it, or is this
Oh, it says right
information here,
3,000.
last year's,
Where?
flyer? That's in our package?
Yeah,
It's last year's flyer.
yes.
Okay. So, I mean, they haven't submitted, they've got an event coming
No,
up.
they put it right on their application here. They expect 3,000 people to attend.
No, but I'm just saying, this is, the information we got, this is
I don't
last
have
year's
that.
flyer, correct?
Right.
But we haven't received, I mean, they've got an event coming up in a few weeks, and we don't have any information about this
Yeah,
year.
but you gotta remember, this was filed on December 17th.
Okay. Well, I mean, couldn't they have forwarded it to,
No,
Are you looking at Adirondack Trail?
I think so,
Am I? Oh, yeah.
so,
Which one?
yeah.
Oh, I lost my
C-
head.
Craig, I will do this. I'll make sure, as part of the grant, as everybody's required, is that they give us a full detailed account of what they did and
Okay.
what they expected to bring in.
That's okay.
Paul's question?
So,
Anybody have anything else? All in favor?
All right.
Opposed?
if I oppose, you won't have one.
I don't
I'll
think
make it,
so.
will ya?
What do you need, 5?
Do we need, Amanda, a majority of the committee or majority of the attendant, those present?
Oh,
So
okay. You can
Say
vote.
no.
Okay. I'll never forgive you, Craig, but we'll take it.
Notice I calculated it, though.
You did. I appreciate that. Okay, what else do we have? That's it, that's it? Privilege of the floor?
Yeah, I hope you use, whoops, excuse me.
Yeah.
do you have an amount of what the surplus tax account has in it right now?
Talking to you, Lisa.
I hope you use option tax by pizza.
Avoid something in
All right, that's surplus tax money.
Beginning balance.
Right, and your goal was to keep 500, right? Is that correct?
Million.
Yeah, or a million was the goal.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Going once, going twice, motion to
Chairman, I'm
adjourn?
sorry.
Make it quick.
Very quick, when can we have a discussion about the presentation that I put together? We're going to do that at the next tax meeting in September? Or
Yes.
we're going to do it?
No. Yes, we will do it, yep,
Thank you.
yep. Good point. Motion to adjourn? Matt, Ben, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much for your patience.
Oh, that's right, I got it.